Hey guys, this is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing, coming in with another DocuSign tip for you. Today we'll be going over how to add your client in with a trust name or maybe an LLC name. So sometimes you might have a client that wants to sign with their legal name. However, the property needs to be under the LLC name or the trust name. Okay, so you might need to switch up how they are signing the form versus how their name displays in the text box in the actual form. All right, so this will be helpful if you need your client to sign with a different name than they are entered into DocuSign with. So first thing we're going to do is go to realestate.docusign.com to log in. Something to note to make sure you're not going to DocuSign.com directly. We do want to go to realestate.docusign.com to access the room side of DocuSign. Let's go ahead and click on our DocuSign room. And of course, guys, feel free to pause the video if you need to go ahead and log in to DocuSign. Of course, you can pause the video anytime to follow along. All right, once you click on your DocuSign room, that will take you to the details section of your room directly. Okay, on the right-hand side, you'll notice your client's names going down, the role that they have, and then their contact info. So if I start scrolling down, I see sellers first. I'm practicing on a buyer opportunity or a buyer room right now. So if I scroll on down, I will see my client's name and email and phone number all pull over from command. So you do want to make sure you're starting your transactions in command, of course, by creating the contact record, then creating the opportunity, which will then allow you to create your DocuSign room. And if you don't feel completely versed on how to start a transaction in command, I will put a short little overview in the description of this YouTube video if you want to check that out. All right, but in theory, if you did create that in command, your contact's name and email and phone number would display here, buyer 1, maybe buyer 2, if that applies. Okay, and so this name right here, this is how their name will display in a text box, right? So if it's a listing agreement, for example, that would be their name on the very top of the form, okay, showing who's entering into the agreement. So if you want your client to, if that's going under their personal name, or you might want to go ahead and change that to their LLC name or their trust name, right? If you want that trust name or the LLC name to be in the text box in the actual form, that's what we'll want to put here. Okay, and of course you can click edit up here on the top right if you want to edit that information at all. So once you have this information correct, okay, again, this is the name that will fill into the text box, autofill into your text box. So the next steps, I'll be showing you how to alter their signing name. So if their signing name is different than the name here, let's take a look at how we would do that. So first of all, let's go ahead and go into Documents. Okay, so the Documents section of your DocuSign room. And you can go ahead and pull in a form into your DocuSign room. So if it's not already in there, I'll go ahead and click Add on the top right. Just to do a quick overview on how to add forms to your DocuSign room. So I can grab one. I'll click on DocuSign Forms from that drop-down. Okay, the DocuSign Forms are all interactive forms in your account, so all the films that are fillable, you can just click and start typing. The next few steps might look a little different depending on which state you're in, which region, and so forth, so bear with me here. If you get a pop-up right before this one that says something like, it wants you to put in your NERDS ID to verify your association with NAR. If you're taken to that step, not all associations do require that. Off the top of my head, I know Pennsylvania, South Carolina does, Florida, parts of Florida does at least. So you can look for your association, that list. You can always click the little blue link on the bottom that says skip this step right now to see if you need that step to access your forms. Okay, and you can always go back and add that in a later time in your DocuSign account preferences. However, once you click to skip that step, all right, or maybe you don't even see that pop up if you skipped that before, it'll take you right to your DocuSign forms, so we can add that from our library or from our form groups here. So depending on which option you have in the top dropdown, that'll be different in the second dropdown. So for my libraries, I have my forms for my board and my MLS. And then if I change that to DocuSign Forms group, though, So if I change the first drop down, it will then give me different options in the second drop down. And these groups are created by your office staff, so of course these won't be the same as mine. All right, so I'll go ahead and select the form group that would apply to me. And I usually like searching by the group. It makes it easier to find, but that's a preference thing. Okay, let's say for this one, I'm going to bring in a buyer agency. So I'll go ahead and search for the form that I want. Simply click the check mark to the left of the form, and then click to add it. And of course, feel free to pause the video if you're still working on adding in the form. Of course, that's a more lengthier process sometimes, depending if you're on the hunt for it. And now that it's in my DocuSign room, I can go ahead and open that up to start editing it right away. So I'll simply click on it to open that up. And the main thing that I want to show you on this form is how it auto-fills the client's names in. So you'll see on the top of the form, these two names are auto-filling from the details section of my DocuSign room. So if you would rather that be the trust name or the LLC name, whatever the case may be, you can go ahead and change that in the details section of your room. Right? If you change it here, it actually changes it back in the details section of the room, which is pretty cool. It works back and forth. So let's say I want to do like sample trust, for example. And Ron Swanson, sure, we'll keep Ron Swanson because he is awesome. All right, so I'll go ahead and change that here just to show you guys the difference. And then we'll click Save and Close on the top. So of course, in this example, you would want to go through the entire form and fill that all in. Okay, I'm just focusing on the names in this one. So that's why I'm going to show only that one. All right, but of course we would go through, fill out the entire form first. And just because it's a big question I get, don't worry about the fact that you're not seeing the initial boxes or signature boxes yet. We add those in a minute. So right now we would go through and fill out the entire form and click to save and close it on the top right. Very important step. After filling out the form, make sure you click Save and Close on the top right. Now, what you have to do in this step, and again, I don't mean to be a broken record, but feel free to pause if that wasn't enough time to fill out a form, because I know it wasn't. But at this point, in our imaginary example here, we went ahead and filled out the entire form, and now we're ready to send it to our clients to be able to electronically sign that. So we do need to add it to an envelope in order for them to be able to electronically sign. All right, so an envelope. So we'll see that on we'll see that word on our toolbar here in our DocuSign room. So let's click on that. So go ahead and click on envelopes. Okay, and what an envelope is channel snail mail here. Like you grab an envelope, I need to put my forms in it, and so I can send it in the mail for my clients to sign it. Okay, so in the envelope section, we'll go ahead and click New. And there's a couple different ways you can create an envelope, so whichever way you feel comfortable is totally fine. Okay, if you have a different method. In this case, I'm in envelopes, so anytime I want to send forms out, I'll go ahead and click on envelopes and click New on the top right. And that will take me into the envelope details. Just like regular snail mail, right? First thing I need to do is go ahead and add a form into the envelope. So I'll go ahead and pick that from my room docs. So I'll click on room docs and here they are. So I'll go ahead and grab that exclusive buyer agency that I was just working on and click to add selected. Okay, and you can add multiple forms to an envelope. Send multiple at once. Okay, just like snail mail, what would we do next? We would address the envelope to our recipients. So in the recipients section here, we'll go ahead and click add recipients and select pre-tagged roles. Okay. This pre-tagged roles will only show up for interactive forms. So if you're working on a PDF, you can pick room participants, but I'll select pre-tagged roles here. And for buyer one here, I want to go ahead and put in my sample trust. Okay. So I'm adding in that name and clicking add. All right, so currently, this is how the name will display on the top of the form, and is also how the system will prompt the client to sign. So let's say you want it to say sample trust on the top text field, right, on the top of your form. However, you want the client to be able to sign with their actual name, their legal name. So I can go ahead and change that here to whatever I want them to sign with. Okay, this is where the system pulls what the name that it will have them sign in. Right? So we're changing this to whatever they want to sign with. You can always add a message on the bottom, but that is not required. And I'll click next on the top right. I'm going to go back so I can change it to my email so I can show you guys what it looks like when it actually comes through to the client. Okay. So again, the main takeaway from the envelope section here is that we change this field to whatever name you want the client to sign with. So whether it be the LLC name or their legal name, whatever it is you want them to sign with, change that here. Okay, and we'll click next on the top right. Okay, so here you'll see that the sample trust name is at the top, right? So at the top of the form, I wanted the trust name to display. However, when the client goes to sign it, right, I can already tell that it's going to sign with her personal name, her legal name, because you'll see that field right here on the top left, you'll notice the actual signing name. That's what I'll prompt them to sign with. All right, so DocuSign does automatically add the initial boxes and the signature fields as long as it's an interactive form, meaning a form we could just type in. All right, so now all I need to do here is click send. All right, for interactive forms, there's not a whole lot you have to do in the envelope. I usually, check over the recipient preview to make sure that everything is set up correctly, and then I can click send. All right. So I'm going to go over to the client's email. So I am acting like the client now, and I'm going to come over to my email inbox to now show you guys that it will have the client sign with the legal name that we put in instead of the trust name. So right here, I mean, you can see how fast that flew in here. This is what shows off default if you don't add any messages or title. It sent it for review, so you can go ahead and click review document. This is what the message says. Review document. This will be good to see what a client sees anyway. So I'll go ahead and click continue, click start. All right, when the client goes to sign for the first time, it will prompt them to, fix their signature if needed. So if I go ahead and click to initial here, I see that it automatically fills in the name that I indicated, in the envelope. So automatically fills that in, but they do have the option to change it here. So if for whatever reason, if you forgot this step, and it shows their LLC name, they can change it on their own. When they're actually signing, it will verify it before they click adopt and initial. So I'll click adopt and initial, and now it will automatically fill in the correct initials all the way down. Right, and once they click to finish that will come back to your DocuSign room. And it will show signed. It will have a signed icon. All right, guys, if you have any questions on that, please do not hesitate to reach out to me at support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention my name, which is Leah, Leah. I'd be more than happy to help you. I hope you have a great day, and I hope this helped.